Benjamin was still sitting inside of his cell in Helios. His ears were ringing as he processed all the information. Ben kept pacing back and forth around him. Fuck! He shouted. She's pregnant! Ben said in disbelief. Liza was watching from the one-way glass. She then saw Hill handing her some water. She thanked him. Long day, Commander? He asked. A complete fucking shit show, she said. Could have been worse, he stated. What's gonna happen to him? He asked. We'll keep him locked up for a few days, she said. What about the girl? He asked. I don't think Mrs. Hunter had anything to do with the attack, but with the loss of the boy, we need as much leverage on Hunter as we can get. Apparently, 2 Patriots were found dead earlier today. Humvee stolen too, she said. Think it was the kid? Lieutenant Hill asked. I'm thinking so, she said. In the lab, we see Patriots taking everything from Alice's lab. No, please, sir! I'm so close! I know it! She said. Tell that bullshit to someone else, Dr. Warren, because as far as I'm concerned, your incompetence has pushed us in a dangerous situation and costed the lives of 2 of my men, he said. But I was making serious progress with the dead, she stated. With enough time, I'm sure I can make a vaccine, she said when Caden grabbed her by the neck. There is no fucking vaccine, Doctor. Get that through your stupid fucking head, he said. I only authorized this lab so you prepare a solution against the dead, but Trevor was right. There is no need. The dead will decay in 20 years, and we keep killing them until they're extinct, he said. If I were you, Warren, I'd look for a new job, because I don't tolerate people who don't contribute in my community, he said, leaving. Alice looked on as she began to cry. She was left there in the cold, empty lab as she cried in her arms, not knowing what to do. 3 days later, in Helios, we see blood dripping on the cold, hard ground. We see many prisoners locked in their cells. We see most of them were CRM soldiers taken from the Nebraskan stadium. Meanwhile, in another cell, we see a scared Josh. Josh was praying. Lord, please have mercy on my soul. I don't want to tell these people anything. But I'm so scared, he said. I don't want to tell them about everyone back home. Please give me strength, he cried. Suddenly, the cell door opened as Caden stepped into the room. Josh stood up from his seat as he looked tense. Hi there, Caden said as he kept getting closer. Josh stood up and ran as fast as he could. Josh launched a punch, but Caden dodged it before headbutting him in the face. Josh collapsed to the ground as his nose was bleeding. He tried to get back up, but Caden kicked him in the stomach. Behind him, we see Trevor holding a camera. When do I get to tag him? He asked. Caden looked back at him. Just shut up and stay out of my way, he said, as he continued to beat on Joshua. 5 days later, we see a bloody Josh in his cell. He was crying his eyes out. We met Rachel and Carla last year. They came to our farm to return our horse and form an alliance with us, he said. Interesting. And where is your farm? Caden asked. It's in West Virginia, not far from Huntington, he said. It's Dawson Family Farm, he gave up. How many people are in your group? He asked. I don't know. We had over a dozen go with us. I just know there's my pa and sister and brother, he said. That's your entire family, he asked. Yes, that's everyone, I swear, he said. And it was Rachel you were smuggling food supplies into the city for, he asked. Yes, she sent 2 of her people, Alexa and Dan, to find reinforcements, he said. Interesting. Where did she send them away to? He asked. Josh didn't say anything. Caden then went over to his hand and grabbed the finger before twisting it backwards, breaking it, as Josh screamed in agony. Where did she send those 2 away? He asked. I don't know, he said, crying. I swear! How long ago? He asked. I think 2 months ago, he said. Would you be willing to act as a bargaining chip? If you can get your family and farm to surrender, will you do that for me? He asked. Josh didn't say anything. Fucking answer me when I'm talking to you, boy, he said, threatening him. Yes, I will. They'll surrender, he said, giving up. Happy to hear it, he said. He got up and left, leaving Josh there all alone in his torment. Caden makes it to the hallway as he looks towards Liza. Anything from them? He asked. No, she said. Caden looks disappointed. The CRM soldiers aren't budging, she told him. Caden took a deep breath of annoyance and growled in frustration. You have got to be fucking kidding me, Commander, he said. Hey, I've been trying my best, she told him. They just won't break. Some of them already have scars on. I doubt this is the first time they've been interrogated, and I'm trying here. What am I supposed to do? Get Trevor? You know I can't trust him with prisoners, he said. What about Hunter? She asked. His wife is still MIA. I'm not trusting him with any confidential information. Caden calmed down. How's Hunter? He asked. Still locked up, she said. Suddenly, Trevor arrived. Sir, we have a problem, he said. Caden was in the officer's room with the others. So they don't know who killed Corporal Nelson? He asked. No, sir, Trevor said. Maybe it was someone who snuck into the community, Hill suggested. You don't really think that shit is possible, do you? Trevor said. It's possible. We don't watch the community 24/7, and there's still random strays out there, he said. Hill is right, Liza said. We can't accuse them without proof, she said. One of my soldiers was shot in the fucking neck in their town. What more proof do we need than that? Caden asked. With all due respect, sir, Amish don't use guns. Something isn't right about this, he said. I need to head to the Dawson farm. My scouts haven't found the girl, so I'm going to see if they're hiding her on their land, Caden said. And to make them regret messing with us, Trevor said. What about the murder in Eden? Liza asked. We can do both. Liza, I want you to handle it, he said. Understood, sir, she said. Trevor and I will go with the others and head to the farm and introduce ourselves, he stated. After the meeting, Trevor stopped Caden. General, a moment of your time, he asked. What is it, Captain? He asked. I know you assigned Commander Liza with the investigation, but with all due respect, sir, are you sure about this? He asked. What do you mean? He said. Well, if you send her, she'll go easy on the citizens in the town. She'll see them and believe they're innocent, and the murder will go unresolved, he said. What are you suggesting? Caden asked. Send me. I can shake down the town and dig up the murderer for you. I just need 1 day, he told him. You really think you can do it? He asked. I know I can. We can't let those people get away with killing one of our men, he said. One of my men, Captain, he corrected. Trevor backed away. Caden thought about it. Fine. Consider it done, he stated. Caden walked away as Trevor smiled. On the Dawson family farm, we see everyone doing chores, outside and inside the house. Everyone looked on, depressed and saddened. We see a group of people putting a small wooden block and nailing it to the side of the house. To the lost, it said. Rachel appeared and looked on, seeing all the many names on it. Over a dozen names were on the wooden memorial. At the bottom, it said, Joshua Dawson. Rachel looked at it very sadly. Tyler appeared next to her and took her hand. Are you okay? He asked. No, she said. I blame myself for all of this. They used to be good people with families and dreams and life in them, and now they're just a wooden board nailed to a farmhouse, she said. There was nothing you could have done, he said. If I had been more attentive, I could have seen what Patrick and them were doing. But I was so focused on other things that Tyler interrupted her. You're pregnant. You were focusing on your baby, he said. Those people are dead, Tyler. And I couldn't stop it, she said. Maybe you weren't supposed to, he said. Rachel, you worry so much about everyone else that I ignore my problems. I didn't do that just one time, and now people are dead, she said. What right do I have? Why is my life worth more than all of theirs? She said, touching the memorial. She was saddened. I was wrong. I couldn't do this. I thought I could, but, she said. Yes, you can. You still can, he said. I thought it was strong enough to keep the city safe until Benjamin came back. But it's been 6 months and, she said. Rachel looked, seeing Angela sitting by herself. Rachel sat down next to her. I'm sorry, she said. You already said that, Rachel, she said. I know, she said. But I feel responsible. You had nothing to do with this, Angela said. It was my fault. I let Patrick trick us and I fell for it. I wanted to be strong like you and Carla, and I put my family in the crossfire, and now because of that, Josh is dead, she said. We don't know that for sure, she said. I wanted to fight for a future, but now, I don't think there is one, she said. Later that night, we see Rachel and the others preparing food. Ethan thanks her and takes a plate for his father. Here, Pa. He gave it to him. His dad didn't say anything. Pa, it's been days. You need to eat, he said. Cliff ignored him. Ethan tried to snap his father out of it. I know you miss Josh. I do too, he said. You don't know anything, boy, he said. You didn't lose a son. I did, he said. He was my son, he screamed. And he was my brother, Ethan cried. Rachel heard the yelling and walked away, feeling more sad. The next day, far away, we see a man in the windmill guard tower, looking as he sees something. Multiple cars and Humvees. Oh God, he said, getting on the radio. Suddenly he was shocked as the shot rang out. Everyone heard it. They're here, she said. Angela tried to get on the radio. Attention everyone, we're being attacked, she shouted. No one heard anything as everyone was panicking, asking each other questions. Wait, why isn't it? The radios weren't working, as on the Humvees we see radio jammers. Caden was driving a Humvee as Liza stood there beside him. Ethan came and grabbed Rachel and Tyler. You have to go right now, he said, pushing Rachel and Tyler. Ethan ran with them as the Patriots were coming. Come on, he said. Cliff came out of the door. What the hell is going on? He asked. Ethan ran with Tyler. The Patriots are coming, he said. Get them into the barn, hurry, he said. Ethan nodded. Pa, let's get everyone inside, he said. I'm going with you, she said. No, you're going inside right now. I don't want to hear it, he said. You won't. I'm staying with you, she said. Ethan led the siblings to the barn. Here, you should be safe here. Don't come out until I say so, he told them. I'll do everything I can to make sure they don't find you. Wait, what about Dr. Roberts and Merle? She said. Don't worry. I doubt the Patriots will recognize them, he said. He turned back as Caden and the others got out of their Humvees. Go now, he said, telling them to hide. Rachel and Tyler entered the barn when she covered her nose. They looked, seeing a large dumpster. What is that horrible smell? He coughed. Tyler got up and looked. Oh, it's a pile of dead walkers, he said, disgusted. Outside, we see Cliff standing firm as Caden, Liza, and the other Patriots were walking towards them, guns in arms. Another old fuck, Caden said. Where is the girl? He asked, not caring. I don't know who you're talking about, he stated. Caden smiled before showing a photograph. I'm looking for this girl. Take a good look, old man, he said. Bring her to me in 10 seconds or things will get unpleasant, he said. I've never seen her before in my life, he said. Caden snapped, punching him in the face. I'm so fucking sick of these lying old fucks dicking me around, he said. Liza looked on. Spread out and look for the girl, he said. We see the soldiers spreading out as we see Dr. Roberts next to the others. She went over to Mr. Brown. We need distraction, she said. They whispered to one another as the Patriots were coming. Angela arrived as they held her at gunpoint. She spoke up. Please, whoever you're looking for, we can help you find her, but we've never met this girl, she said. We lived on this farm our whole lives, she said. Caden smiled. I doubt that, Angela, Caden said, making her hair stand on end. How did you know? Your name? Yeah, funny story about that, he said. I had a friendly chat with your little brother, he said. We see the Patriots everywhere, looking in all the mobile homes and house. They turned and opened every door and looked under the beds, in the basement, and so on. Check all the barns, too, they said. We see dogs sniffing the ground as they were coming to the barn. They started barking. Angela looked on, scared. Looks like they found something, Caden said, excited. Commander, stay with the lying girl, he said, walking away. Angela held to her father. Pa, I'm so sorry, she said. No, this is not your fault, he said. We see Ethan going over to Dr. Roberts. Okay, get ready when I say. Ethan told her, handing her a bag of supplies. The Patriots were still looking everywhere as we see the dogs barking outside the barn. Caden barges through, opening the door, gun raised, when he looks, seeing nothing but a dirty barn and a dumpster that reeked to high heaven. Holy shit! What is that horrible smell? He said. I don't know, sir, but the dogs won't go any further, the soldier said, coughing. Nor will I. It smells like dumpsters full of rotten biters, he said, getting out. As he closed the door, the soldiers covered their faces, trying not to breathe in the smell. As they move over to the dumpster, they look around the large barn for any signs of Rachel Hunter. God, it stinks so bad, the soldier said. Stop complaining and keep looking, he said. The soldiers go everywhere, not seeing Rachel and Tyler, as we see them on top of the dumpster, lying on the dead. Rachel and Tyler stayed quiet. I don't see anyone here, he said. Let's leave. I'm throwing up in my throat, one said, as they both left. It was finally clear as Rachel got out of the dumpster with Tyler. Easy, easy, he whispered, as Rachel threw up on the ground numerous times. Rachel coughed as Tyler helped her. Rachel, you gotta stay quiet, as she puked again on the ground from the horrible smell. Outside, we see a soldier turning around as he heard something as he headed back in the barn. Back with Caden, we see him going to the truck. I am not leaving without the girl, he said. He then pulled out a bag from his truck. He carried it to the Dawson family. He looked inside. Say hello, Josh, he said as he pulled out Josh's head from the bag. Angela screamed in horror as she collapsed to the ground. She was covering her face as Cliff stared on, shocked at the sight. Liza looked away, being disturbed by it. What? Didn't you want to see your boy? Your brother? He asked. This is what happens when you attack my home, my people, my world, he said. He then tossed it to the ground by Cliff as he was horrified. Sorry, he said, when Caden grabbed him. Angela tried to run to her father, but the soldiers stopped and restrained her. Pa, no, let him go, she begged. You people need to be taught a lesson, and it starts right here, he said. In the barn, we see the soldier with his gun raised as he looked around, not seeing anything. He looked, seeing throw up on the ground, when all of a sudden Tyler came from the wooden ledge, hitting him with a machete. Tyler swung it down as numerous times as he could, brutally killing the man. The man was dead, as blood was spraying on the barn floor. Tyler took deep breaths as he went the other way. Caden extends his baton. Come on, old man. Spare yourself some pain and tell me where the bitch is, he said. I'll tell you, he said. He spat in his face. It's you, he shouted. Pa! She shouted. Wrong choice, he said as he smacked him in the face with his baton as he bloodied his head. Everyone looked on in horror as he continued to beat on the old man. The farmers were horrified, and even some of the Patriots were looking away. Don't want to talk? Fine. I'll find her myself, he said as he continued beating Cliff mercilessly. Angela kept screaming in horror, begging him to stop. She's here! I'll tell you! Please, just stop! She begged. General, please! Liza stopped him. The general smiled. You don't seem to understand, he said. Angela was confused. The deal is off! This is punishment, he said. He cracked Cliff in the head one more time as the baton struck his head. Ringing was heard as Cliff's body slowly dropped to the ground. He was dead, as Liza looked on, covering her mouth with her hands. Angela screamed in horror, collapsing while restrained, asking why. Liza looked on as multiple horses were everywhere. They were running everywhere as the farmers were panicking due to the loud gunshots. We see several walkers also coming from the outside areas into the farm. Liza looked on. She got on the radio. All teams, we have biters coming in. Postpone the search and deal with the dead, she ordered. Caden looked at the blood on his hands. Angela was let go. She cried over her father as we see Ethan walking, dragging a horse that was covering Rachel and Tyler, who had hoods on. Hurry, hurry, he said. Ethan, your father. There's no time, he said on the verge of tears. Getting you both out of here. We see the Patriots fighting off the dead as Liza looked to her boyfriend and superior. You just had to fire off that shot, didn't you? She said, annoyed. Caden got annoyed as he got closer to her. Too close. He was right in her face. Is there something you want to say to me, Commander? He said. You didn't have to kill the old man, she said. I did, he said. Liza looked, seeing Ethan by one of the horses and a few others. They looked familiar. She stared at them. I'm talking to you, Commander, Caden said, regaining her attention. She looked back at him as we see Ethan helping Rachel and Tyler make it to one of the Humvees. Tyler takes out a key. Come on, he said. Thank you, she told Ethan. I owe you my life. Be safe, he said. He slapped the horse in the rear end as it rode off. Oh no, stop him, hurry, he shouted. Everyone looked over as they went to the horse. Watch out, they shouted. Suddenly, a soldier noticed getting in the Humvee. Merle and Dr. Roberts climbed inside. Hey, I seen him! A soldier shouted before he was shot. Tyler fired his gun, killing the soldier. Suddenly, everyone looked. Caden and Eliza and the rest looked at drawing their guns. They ran. What the fuck? He said, running. Tyler fired his assault rifle as Rachel started up the car. Tyler, come on! She shouted. Tyler fired off his clip, using all of the ammunition, but it was empty. He dropped it as he ran inside the car. The Patriots opened fire as Rachel reversed it, and she drove the car away from the barn. You're taking the truck! He shouted. Caden got on his radio. All teams, we have the girl. Get back in the Humvees and follow me. We can't let her get away, he said. Sir, the jammers are still on, Liza said. Fuck, he said. General, someone said. The tires, he said, seeing that the tires from the remaining Humvee were damaged. As they drove off, Tyler breathed heavily. Are you okay? He asked Rachel. Yeah, I'm okay. That was too close. What in God's names were you doing, Tyler? She asked. Buying us some time, he said. He patted Merle on the head as the dog licked him. They continued down the road as the car was getting further and further away from the farm. We see Benjamin and the other Patriots gearing up. They were branding many weapons. Trevor watched them. Sometime later, we see Benjamin and the others in the parking lot. Benjamin and them got to the Humvees and get ready to leave, when Trevor stops him. In the back. Like a good dog, he said. Benjamin clenched his fist before smirking. He went to the back as he cracked his neck. He climbed in the back with several others. In the driver's seat, Trevor smiled. He started up and left the lot. They drove off as it raced. The front gates were open for them as they lit the Helios. They rode for several miles, not doing anything. Suddenly, the vehicle stops as he sees everyone get off. Benjamin and them looked around. There were walkers in the trenches. That's to be expected. But he saw something else. He saw previous tire tracks on the ground and looked, seeing the residents of Eden. He looked to see they were gone. Patriots on the roads. Benjamin spoke. Why so many men for a simple visit? He asked. Trevor walked up to him and smiled. Shh. Don't want to spoil the fucking surprise, Black Wolf, he said, walking away. Follow up, he ordered. Benjamin flicked him off as everyone looked on in shock. Benjamin looked around as him and the other Patriots were talking to each other. Trevor whispered to one of them. Trevor smiled. Suddenly, he walked quickly and headed into one of the houses. He raised his foot, kicking the door. Benjamin pulled his gun out as the people inside of the house were screaming. A man was tossed from the house as he landed in the street. Please don't hurt me! Josiah, please don't hurt him! The woman shouted. Pa! The kids shouted. Benjamin ran forward. Trevor, what the fuck? Benjamin shouted. Trevor smiled. He punched the man in the face. Stop! Benjamin moved forward as Trevor aimed his gun at him. Go ahead, he said. Benjamin took another step forward. Trevor re-aimed his gun and shot the ground, nearly hitting the man. Go ahead. Take another step and see if he'll be lucky, he ordered him. Benjamin aimed his gun, but soldiers behind him aimed theirs at him. Everyone's looking through the windows. We see Isaiah and the others watching. Pa, what's going on? Annie asked. Go in your room, honey, he ordered the girls. Trevor then signaled a man. He tossed him a megaphone. Attention, residents of Eden! This is Captain Dallas of the Patriots of America. Now I told you all that someone will pay, he said, as everyone was stepping out of their homes. Corporal Nelson was killed last night, and I will have justice for his murder, he shouted. This is Lieutenant Hunter. He's going to be investigating the murder, and trust me, he will find which one of you broom-bearded fucks did it, and when he brings him to me, they will suffer the consequences. If you think I'm harsh on you all, holy fuck, you pansies will shit your fucking pants, he said. Because this guy will make your worst nightmares come true, he told them. Well, that's it. Enjoy the rest of your miserable day, he laughed, putting down the megaphone. He smiled and turned to Benjamin. Did you catch all that, Black Wolf? He asked. I'm not doing shit for you, he told him. A man was murdered, he told him. And I fucking care why, he asked. Trevor got closer. But because if you don't, I'm gonna hang every single one of these 12th century wearing hillbillies right in front of you. Even the little kiddies, he said. Benjamin was furious as he grabbed Trevor and slammed him against the wall. Sir, they said. No, it's okay, he smiled. Benjamin had him pinned. You better put those fangs away, Black Wolf. People are watching, he told him. And if you keep this up, they're gonna watch their precious babies hang. Like that Hispanic bitch of yours. Benjamin pulled out his gun and jammed it into his face. Trevor laughed. Go ahead, shoot me, he said. See what happens, he said, excited. Benjamin hesitated, but put the gun down. Trevor smiled. Knew you were a pussy, he said. Benjamin then punched forward, missing Trevor as he dodged. Benjamin's hand hit the wall, busting it. Trevor laughed as Benjamin showed him his bruised hand. Next time, I won't miss, he said. He let go of Trevor as he shoved past the men. They all surrounded Trevor. Are you all right, sir? They asked. Oh, I'm more than all right, he said. Why are you letting him get away with this? He asked. Because it's fun. It's the most fun I've had in a month. Wanted to have a little more fun with my pet before I put him down, Trevor said. So you're going to kill him? They asked. Oh, yes, but I don't want to rush it, he said. We're, not really going to hang all these people if he doesn't catch Nelson's killer, will we? He asked. Trevor then looked at the soldier coldly. You getting cold feet, Private? He asked. We see Benjamin going to the Miller house as he looked, seeing little Annie. She hid and ran away as Benjamin smiled, turning to the door. He raised his hand, knocking on the door. The door opened as Bethany stood at the door. We see Benjamin sitting in the dining room with Isaiah Miller on the other side. Would you like some coffee, Mr. Hunter? He asked. Benjamin looked at him but gave in. I would appreciate that, he said. We see him get up and put some beans in a hot pot, as Benjamin then pulls out a photo of Rachel as he stared at it. Benjamin stares at it for a while as he keeps thinking about Rachel. He remembers the time they danced on the hill and his proposal to her. He then thinks about their wedding and all their laughs. Benjamin and Isaiah sat down. I know you did it, Isaiah, Benjamin said. It wasn't me, he told him. Where's the gun? He asked. I don't know, he said. Benjamin sipped his coffee. Isaiah, this is serious. If I don't catch the killer, Dallas is going to hurt the others. Your girls, he said. I'm sorry, he said. I don't know. Really, he said. Benjamin could see that he was lying. Okay, I believe you, he said. Can you tell me everything that happened after I left months ago? He said. Well, after you left me the gun, I tried to throw it away, but for some reason, I decided to keep it in the drawer. I put it underneath my clothes, he said, as it shows him gently putting the gun underneath his clothing. Mary was behind him, standing at the door. Pa? He turned around. Ah, Mary, you startled me, he said. Sorry, Pa, she said. It's all right. Do you need something? He asked. Ma dropped a ring under the stove. Can you move it for her? She asked. Oh, of course, he said. We see him come back as he showed Jedediah. Brother, are you still keeping that weapon? He asked. Shh, we will not talk about this, he said. It's important, Isaiah, he told him. We see them shoveling hay as they worked in the fields. It's getting a lot harder to feed everyone. The Lord will provide, Isaiah stated. And what if the Lord doesn't this time? Jedediah asked. Don't be talking blasphemy like that, he said. Blasphemy? His brother said. Like the dead coming back to life? He said. Or how about the Patriots taking nearly half of all the produce and livestock we have, he stated. We're surviving, he stated. I'm tired of surviving. I want to live. I don't want Mary and Annie to have to deal with this when we're gone, he told him. They're too good for us to leave a world like this behind, he said. Isaiah looked on, thinking. I wish we could provide them a better life, he said. We can. We will, he told him. Back in the Miller house, Benjamin looks through Isaiah's drawer as he looks at it touching the wood. And this is where you last left it? He asked. Yes, Mr. Hunter, he said. Benjamin thought about it. And you're sure no one, not even your girls, took it? He asked. My girls would never do such a horrible thing, he said defensively. I'm not saying they killed him. I'm asking if they knew about the gun and were curious about it, he asked. No, they had no idea, he told him. What about your wife? He asked. Isaiah thought back to several weeks ago. We see Bethany coming inside the house with a basket of fresh laundry. She smiled and laid them down as she opened the drawer. She started putting the clothes neatly in the drawers as she saw a lump. She was intrigued at it. She put her hand on it as she felt it. She pushed against it as she unveiled the clothes, seeing the handgun right in front of her. Later that day, we see Isaiah and the girls coming into the house. We see Bethany looking at her husband. Isaiah, may I speak with you? She asked. Sure, hon, he said. In private. Girls, can you please go upstairs to your room? Your father and I need to discuss something, she asked. Yes, ma'am, Mary said. Annie followed her as they went upstairs. Isaiah was a little concerned. What is it, dear? He asked. I found the gun you had, she said quietly. Isaiah was a little shocked. Oh, I see, he said. Oh, I see? That's all you have to tell me? She asked. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, he said. I was going to, but I didn't know how to say it, he said. I don't want to hear excuses, she said. I don't care that you didn't tell me. I mean, I do care, but I'm more upset that you had it, she said. What were you thinking? Not about our girls, obviously, she asked. I was thinking it could be useful in case something ever happened, he said. I want that weapon out of this house, she said. Bethany, you're being unreasonable, he said. No, for centuries this town has been here. We've never needed a gun, especially in our home. What if the girls find out and... She asked. They won't find it, he said. For heaven's sake, Isaiah! What happens when the neighbors find out about this? She said. They won't, he told her. Who knows about it? She asked. Just you and Jedediah, he said. So you told him, she said, hurt. What do you want me to say? He asked. And where did you get it? She asked. From Mr. Hunter. He left it for me when he was here last week, he confirmed. I want it gone, she said. A gun has no place in our community, especially in our home, she said. Bethany, come on, he said. I made my decision and you have to respect it. Either that gun goes or we do, she said, leaving. Later that night, we see Isaiah burying it in distance from the house as Mary watches. She turns around as a man spooks her. It was a Patriot. Oh, sorry, Nelson said. Oh, no, I'm sorry, she said. He had his hands on her shoulders. What are you doing out here, all by yourself? He asked. Nothing, she said, as he was making her uncomfortable. I need to go home, she said. Hold on, what's the rush? He asked. She was able to run from the Patriot as he watched her leave. Mary ran inside the house and slammed the door. Her mother saw her. "Mary! Young lady, what are you doing out this late at night?" she asked. "I'm sorry, Mama," she said. Present time. Benjamin saw a little girl sitting by the grave as he approached her. "Mary?" he asked. "I'm sorry, sir. I'll go home," she said, running away from Benjamin. "Wait, Mary!" he said as he watched her leave. Ben approached them. "Odd, huh? Now she's giving you the cold shoulder," he said. "She's a little girl, and I'm a stranger," he said. "You killed her grandmother," he said. "As a biter," he said. "Where do you think Rachel is?" he asked. "I don't know," Benjamin said. "But Rachel is strong. I know she'll be okay," he told him. "Do you really think so?" he asked. "I know so. Rachel faced off with the CRM without me. I believe in her," he said. "I hope you're right," he said. Benjamin then looked around the Eden community. He knocked from door to door as Trevor watched on. "You really think he's going to find the murderer?" the soldier asked. "Anyone can do anything with the proper motivation. The Black Wolf isn't afraid of death or pain," he told him. "But he is afraid of the pain and deaths of others," he told him. Benjamin goes into one of the houses as he introduces himself to a family. "What time did you hear the gunshot go off inside the town last night?" he asked. "We were thinking it was around, 10 o'clock, the man said. "Do you have a clock?" he asked. "Yes, sir, I'll show you," he said. Benjamin looked at the wall clock. "Honestly, I think I even heard a shriek before the shot went off," he said. "A shriek? Like a woman's?" Benjamin asked. "I'm not sure. I'm sorry," he said. "After I heard the loud shot ring, everything got fuzzy from that night," he told him. Benjamin nodded and looked at the clock, seeing his reflection. He watched as the time goes by. He was running out. He closed his eyes thinking about Carla, Peter, William, Dr. Evans, Robert, and all the others that died horribly because he couldn't save them. Benjamin moved away from it as he walked around the house. He stepped on a wood board. He stopped. It felt weird. He looked down and saw he was standing on some carpet. He moved it, seeing a floor panel. He looked and saw a door hatch. He opened it up as he found a secret basement. Benjamin went down the short basement. He looked, seeing barrels and supplies. Behind him, he turned to see the man behind him. "Please, I know we have to provide, but things have been getting harder," he said. "These supplies help the community. In the winter, our people go hungry and cold," he said. "I'm begging you, sir. Please don't," he said when Benjamin interrupted him. "I don't care about your secret stash of supplies, Mr. Holt," Benjamin stated. The man was surprised. "Just make sure Isaiah knows. All I want is to find the killer of Corporal Nelson," he said. "Are you serious?" he asked. Benjamin got closer. "Do I look like I'm joking?" he asked. No, sir," he said. "Be careful with this. Not many Patriots will look away to this kind of thing," he told him. "I will. Thank you," he said. Benjamin left, going outside as he looked around the community. He took a deep breath. "Running out of time, Benjamin," he stated. "I know," Benjamin said. "Are you going to tell him it was Isaiah? If you do, he'll die, and that girl will lose a father," he told him. "I know, but if I don't, Trevor will hang the entire town. I can't let that happen. Even if that girl hates me, I can't let everyone here die because of my choice," he said. "They never should have given him that gun," he told Ben. "Why would a godly man like Isaiah have killed a patriot in the first place?" Ben asked. Benjamin then thought about it some more. "What if it really wasn't him?" he asked. Ben was not convinced. "I need to find out more about Corporal Nelson," he said. "I doubt Trevor will tell you anything," Ben said. "Fucker wants to make it as hard for you as possible. He wants me to fail this case," he told him. Benjamin went to the place where the killing happened. It was in between two houses. "Why would someone go this way at night?" he asked. Ben appeared. "Where did the killer hide the gun?" he asked. "I don't know," Benjamin said. "If it was nighttime and I had just committed a murder, where would I go?" he said, as he looked, seeing that there was a clear path to the trenches. He looked, seeing some crushed grass in the footpath as he looked at the trenches. There were at least a dozen zombies in the way, clawing at him. Benjamin pulled out his machete and killed them all. In the trench, Benjamin moved the bodies. As he looked, he fidgeted with the dirt and saw something black. He pushed the dirt and found the gun. He took it and checked the ammo. It was mostly full, only lost one bullet. Benjamin sighed. "Son of a bitch," he said. Benjamin walked and headed for the school. Inside the community school church, we see Benjamin sitting down and talking to Mrs. Fisher. "I want to let you know, ma'am, that I intend to make sure all the children in this community stay unharmed, but I need information," he said. "I will try my best, Mr. Hunter, but I am afraid I don't know anything," she said. "I don't think any of the children had anything to do with this killing of the Patriot, but I do think one of them could know something and are keeping it a secret for the sake of their family," he said. "I just can't believe someone in our community had a gun and took a life," she said. "Believe it, anyone is capable of killing, if they have enough willpower," he said. "But killing is a sin," she said. "No, that is incorrect. Murder is a sin. Killing is very different and can be done for multiple reasons, many of which could be justified." "I should know," he said. "But I'm not here to discuss morality with you. Have any of your students acted weird in the last day?" he told her. "I'm sorry, I haven't noticed," she stated. "How is Mary?" he asked. "Mary? Oh, she's a sweet girl," she said. "Works hard, struggles a little bit with fractions, but she works as hard as anyone," she said. "I suppose she does. She seems like a strong girl," he said. "She is, just like her uncle," she said. "Her uncle?" Benjamin asked. "Oh yes, Jedediah helped remake the stools in the school," she stated. "He did them for free as long as I helped tutor Mary," she said. "I see. Yes, I remember him," Benjamin said. "Do you know where I can find him?" he asked. We see Jedediah helping load some bags of wheat as Benjamin watches him. Jedediah hugs his niece and walks with her. Benjamin follows them as he approaches them. "Hello, Jedediah. Do you have a moment?" Benjamin said. Benjamin smiled and greeted Mary. She didn't say anything, as Benjamin caught that. "Mary, why don't you head on home?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she said, taking off. Jedediah watched as she left. "She seems like a strong girl," he said. "Can I help you with something, Mr. Hunter?" he asked. Benjamin lowered his smile. "Come with me," he said. In a hidden spot, the men spoke. "Did you take Isaiah's gun from his house and kill Corporal Nelson?" he asked. "What?" he said. "Answer my question, Mr. Miller," Benjamin asked. "I did no such thing," he shouted. "Really, because you and your brother are my only two suspects. I don't want to, Mr. Miller, but I need to find that killer or people are going to get hurt," he said. "I don't have a gun. Go ahead, search me," he said. Benjamin pulled out the buried gun. "I don't have to. Someone buried this in the trench, and your brother was the only one who knew about this gun," he said. "If you don't confess, I'm gonna turn one of you in," he stated. "If I have to die, so be it. But if you kill me, you'd be killing an innocent man," he said. "Maybe," Benjamin said. Jedediah walked off as Benjamin looked on. Later, Benjamin was driving his car as he rode with Trevor and the others. Benjamin made it inside Helios as he went to the directory. "I need to find Corporal Nelson's room," he asked the woman. She began to check her clipboard. "Yes, he's in building A, room 2. Suddenly, Trevor appeared from behind. "Do you really want to be wasting time, Black Wolf?" he said. Benjamin was pissed. "You said I was in charge of this. You should have stayed back instead of wasting my time. I am trying to save a town," he told him. "Well, don't let me keep you," Trevor said. Benjamin ignored him, going back to the woman. "The room, please." "Oh yes, it's room, 314, she said. "Not to something?" Benjamin asked. "No, I'm sorry, I made a mistake," she said. "I see," Benjamin said as he walked away. Benjamin was walking in the hallway as he could feel soldiers following him. Benjamin then made it to building A, second floor, as he walked up the third set of stairs. He then stopped and listened on. "Come on, let's hurry," he heard. "Captain Dallas wants this done," someone said. Benjamin then followed them as he looked around. He couldn't see anything. He listened in, but there was a lot of rooms. He knocked on a few. One person opened as Benjamin asked him which room was Corporal Nelson's, but none of them knew. Minutes would pass as Benjamin then began to smell something. Fire. Benjamin ran as he saw Patriots burning multiple objects into a trash barrel. Good riddance, they said, when Benjamin came from the side and jumped inside the room. Stop right now! He said. No, we have strict orders from the captain. Step aside, Lieutenant, they said when Benjamin punched him in the face. The others tried to rush him, but Benjamin used his baton, breaking one of their arms as he kicked another one to the wall before knocking him out. They were finally all knocked out as Benjamin quickly took the fire extinguisher and began to put out the fire. He then went outside as several citizens were worried. It's okay. The fire's out, he told them. He went back inside the room and looked in the pile of burned papers and other objects. What is this? He asked, seeing some half-burned papers, a folder from the FBI confiscated evidence locker. He looked inside as he was shocked. It was dawn as Benjamin drove into Eden as he saw Trevor was there. He looked, seeing a massive platform in the town square as Benjamin looked, seeing the Miller family. Attention, citizens of Eden! I don't want to do this, he stated, but I have no choice. When rules are broken, you must be punished, just like your God says. Murderers get their justice, an eye for an eye. Murderers must be punished, he said, as everyone looked on, terrified. Trevor! Benjamin shouted. Benjamin fired his gun into the air. Not this time! You are not killing anyone this time! He said. Lieutenant Hunter, you can't stop me. The general commander is still gone, and I'm in command, he said. I don't give a fucking shit! Nelson deserved to die. I found out we were trying to hide. You tried to trick me, but I know the truth. Nelson was a fucking sick, child-touching fuck! I found the evidence your men were burning. You knew he was a fucking predator, and you still put me up to finding his killer, he shouted. That's right, he told him. I fucking played you. I wanted to see if you can catch his killer, and you surpassed my expectations. Just barely, though, he said. You are letting these people go right now, he shouted. That's not happening, he said. Not until it was me, Jedediah shouted. I killed that monster. He was touching my niece that night. I couldn't control myself. I did it to save her, he shouted. Please, don't punish her or them. Punish me, he said. Trevor smiled. Gladly, he said. Uncle Jedediah, no, Mary said, hugging him. Shh, it's okay, Mary. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Because you're going to be just fine, he said. Benjamin watched the entire family crying as Trevor looked on, smirking. Minutes later, Jedediah was tied up by the hands as he stood, about to be executed. Mary and the others were crying. Put the rope on him, Trevor said. Benjamin was pissed. Do it, or I make the girl watch, he said. Benjamin grinded his teeth as he listened. Benjamin took the rope and wrapped it around his neck. I'm sorry, he said. Don't be. Your hands are clean in this. Please, don't let him hurt them, he said. I won't, Benjamin said. Hurry it up, Black Wolf, Trevor ordered him. I will kill this man, he told Jedediah. Benjamin walked off as he got down the stage. Mary grabbed onto him. Please, don't let him do this! Please stop him! She begged. Benjamin looked down to her. I'm sorry, he said. Cover her eyes, he told the parents. Everyone was crying, begging for mercy, as Trevor smiled and kicked the stool. See ya, he said, as Jedediah dropped. Everyone gasped as Jedediah was hanging. He was in pain as the rope tightened. He struggled to breathe as Trevor laughed. Don't worry, man! Just hang on, he said, as everyone looked away. Mary was crying as Benjamin was beyond furious. Remind you of anyone, Black Wolf? Trevor said. Benjamin pulled out his gun. Jedediah continued to choke and hang in agony when suddenly his head exploded in blood as a bullet hit him straight through. Benjamin stood there with his smoking gun after putting him down. Benjamin then turned around as Trevor charged him, but Benjamin punched him in the gut and tripped him as Trevor fell down.
I want you and everyone here to remember this, you piece of shit! I will kill you for everything you've done, he said. When it happens, you will regret all of this, and I will show you no mercy, because on that day, it's not gonna be the devil that gets you. It'll be me, he threatened.
As Trevor and everyone watched on, Trevor and them got up. Disperse, all of you right now, he shouted. We're done. We're heading back, he said. Everyone was dispersing as Benjamin looked to Mary. Trevor and the others walked off as Benjamin stood there with Jedediah still hanging by the rope.